Ever since I built the outfeed table from a table saw, I haven't been able to use my blade guard. So I've decided to build an overhead guard. My requirements for this guard is that it be simple to build, easy to use, and easy to adjust. So I want it to be useful for the vast majority of cuts that I make. I'll need to be able to move it over far enough that I can make very narrow rips, but it still needs to be wide enough that it'll work with my dado blade. Another requirement is that it raise up high enough to give me access to change the blade without any problems, and just to get it out of my way in cases where I can't use it. I also don't want a lot of bulky stuff in my line of sight. I want to have the clearest view of the table and the blade possible. I think I've come up with a design that will work, and I'm going to get started building that in just a minute. My plan is to wrap this acrylic sheet around this 2x4 and I clamp it to my bench and work my way around if I can actually get it to bend. I don't know if I'm going to be able to heat it up enough because it's so wide. I don't know how long or how well this acrylic holds the heat. Alright, here we go. Let's see what happens. Well, this is bending, but it's not working quite how I would hope. What the cure time is on this. Working time 5 to 6 minutes. Fixture time 10 minutes. 80% strength, 24 hours, okay. 5 to 6 minutes. Should be long enough. Maybe. Damn it. This thin stuff. I'm glad I taped that outside edge. I should have taped the top now. Sticking strings, static full strings of stuff up onto the top. Well, we'll see. I worked out the size of the boards that I need for my tube. I'm going to assemble my tube with screws in case I need to take it apart. I may need to shorten it, or may need access to my adjusters in here, so I'm not going to glue it together. Okay, the idea is that my dust chimney will ride up and down this box. I want to attach this elbow to the top of the dust chimney and have a 4-inch line coming into it, and it'll be able to slide up and down with the chimney. I'm doing this to keep from having the hose way down at the blade guard, because the hoses are hard to see through and they're bulky and they're just in the way. These will be my adjusting blocks. I figured I needed an inch of adjustment. I've got about 1.25 inches, so I'll be able to, let's see, it looks to be going like this. This will be the operator end of the saw. I'll be able to move it 1 inch either way. Well, 1 inch total. That should allow me to use a dado blade and have it covered and still be able to move the dust hood far enough that I can make thin rips. Okay, I've got my slide tube positioned where I should have enough adjustment to use my dado blade and still be able to move it over far enough to do very thin rips. Now I've got to transfer this position up to the ceiling, but first I'm going to install some threaded inserts for my adjuster bolts and my locking rod, locking knob, whatever. Thinking last time I used these I was going to set up a T-handle to do this. Make it easier to run them in straight. Little inserts want to cross thread. Well, I guess it wouldn't really be cross threading because there aren't any threads in there. They're cutting the threads, but it definitely easy to get them going sideways. My plan is to put 2 nuts on the bolt, 2 nuts in a washer, so I can lock the washer in place and just let it spin to move the adjusted block back and forth. So So I'll have to drill a hole. I'm going to drill a 5/16 hole through the middle, but first I'm going to use a Forstner bit to drill recesses for the nuts. I'm going to run the bolt down to mark the hole position on my adjusting block. I'm going to drill my recesses with a 5/8 Forstner bit. Yeah, that's much better. I just need enough left in the middle for the washers to grab onto. I'm going to try using thread locker to lock it down with. I've got some permanent thread locker. Hopefully that'll work. If not, I'll figure something else out. Okay, I'm going to drill 5/16 hole right through the middle for the bolt to pass through. Hard to get everything perfectly aligned. I think that will work though. Alright, let's do one more. Okay, I'll be mounting this board to my joist, and I'm going to mount the box to this board using these 2" 1/4 by 20 bolts. The head will need to be recessed. I had to take the side back off so I can drill these recesses. I'm going to use a 1" Forstner bit, so I only have to drill one because I'm going to make a slot in here to give me a 1/2 inch of side-to-side adjustment, just in case my placement's not exactly right. I hate to get the thing hung up in the rafters and then have to pull it back down because it needs to move 1/8 of an inch to keep from hitting the blade or something. It's about as close as I can go right there. Alright, I believe that will work. The camera's fixing to shut off, and the battery is going dead. I was hoping to get by with 2 adjusting knobs and 1 locking knob. I temporarily mounted the slide tube up to my joist and put the chimney in it, and only having 1 set of locking blocks was letting the chimney move too much. The blocks are acting more like a pivot point, so I'm going to add a second set. I had kind of anticipated that might happen, so I bought enough bolts to set up a second set of knobs, and luckily I have enough of these threaded knobs to add 2 locking blocks, because I have a feeling that it'll be the same situation with 1 the tube may pivot back and forth. But I believe that once I get 2 sets in, it should be held pretty securely. So I've got all the adjusting blocks made. And all the inserts installed. Just getting ready to put the Loctite on this last one so I can move it in and out without any trouble. This is a permanent thread locker, so hopefully it will hold not turn loose. Bottom was already dry. I did it yesterday and it seems to be working just fine. I got a nut and a washer on each side of the adjusting block, spaced out enough that you can turn and move the block in and out. I need to attach this fitting to my dust chimney. I'm thinking I may be able to heat it up and press this down and stretch it out to fit. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work or not, but when I was heating this acrylic, this piece bowed out, so I'm going to grind some of it off to give me a better chance of being able to get this on there and get a better fit. Alright, my plan is to heat this and squeeze it in with the vise. That may change here in just a minute. Well, it took multiple rounds of heating and stretching, but finally got this thing on. This style of basic clamp, it works in both directions. You change the switch and make it put pressure out, and so I used this to help stretch the pipe out. Well, there's a look at the contraption so far. I attached the elbow with some small screws and then sealed it with clear caulk. It's white right now because it's wet, but it will dry clear. And the idea is this will slide up and down. To whatever position I need it in, and then I can lock it down. Okay, I took all the adjustment out of the slide tube on the top, and it's got me in just the right position where I need to be. So that will work. Now I'm going to get to building the actual blade guard. Okay, I got the shape of my dust hood marked out. used double-sided tape to hold both of my side pieces together so I can cut them at the same time. Hopefully they'll be roughly the same shape. Here we go. Bending jig for the top piece that'll go between the two blade guard sides. My workbench was taking a lot of abuse from this heat gun, so I put this piece of MDF down. If you get any scorch marks on it, it won't matter because I'll just use this stuff for jigs and templates. Well, that was a nightmarish ordeal, but I got it done. The shape's not perfect, but it's close enough that it will fit. I just got to cut off the front here and cut it to length in the back. Before I glue these pieces together, I will mark out the position of my dust chimney and cut it as close to size as possible so I get a decent fit and I don't have to have too big of a gap to seal up. Got the outline of my dust chimney marked on this center part of the blade guard. In order to keep my spacing, I'm going to cut part of the way in from each side and then leave about 1/4 of an inch uncut in the middle of each end. That way, after I glue the sides onto this, I'll come back with a handsaw and finish out the cut. Well, check this out. All that trouble to leave a little piece to keep them spacing, and I broke it. So I guess I'm going to tape this back together to help maintain my spacing. And maybe I'll be able to just snap that piece out when it's done. Well, alright, let's see how big of a mess I can make with this glue. Good grief, this is ready. The bend on the center connecting piece is not quite right. It fits one of the pieces better than the other one, even though both side pieces are identical. So obviously the bend was not. But I suppose if it helps protect my little fingers and it sucks up dust, then it'll probably be alright. It's much closer than I expected it to be. The saw cut's not quite perfect, so I'm going to have to file a little bit in the corners. Shouldn't take too much work. Alright, this is going to take multiple rounds of filing and test fitting. Well, I was wrong about the multiple rounds of filing. Mainly just a little bit in the corner, a little on the flat across the back, and it fit right in. So I got really lucky on that. My plan is to drill holes and put screws to hold the blade guard to the dust chimney. And I believe I will have to cut away some material under here that's hanging down. Probably once I get this attached, I'll mark it and then use a grinder to cut it away. I'm going to go ahead and wax my screws to start with on this side. One benefit of having two sets of adjusting blocks, I can tilt the chimney back and forth to get a more precise alignment. Just an FYI, paint thinner will take permanent Sharpie off of acrylic. I sealed the blade guard to the dust chimney with clear caulk, so I won't be losing any vacuum. I'll let that dry while I'm hooking up the flex hose. Made one little change to my dust guard. I took the pan head screws out and used flathead screws so I could countersink them. My push stick was dragging on them when I was doing narrow rips. When I did the countersinks, I ran my drill in reverse to keep from cracking the acrylic. With a twist drill bit, if you run it forward, it'll chip this stuff all to pieces. Done a couple tests already and the hood's working well. I wanted to do a comparison without dust collection and with, so the difference will be obvious, because just doing a test with the dust collection on, you can't see how bad it is without it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 3 cuts each. 3 without dust collection and then 3 with. Okay, this is what I've got without the dust collection running. Quite a bit of sawdust. Getting everywhere. All over my outfeed table. Okay, I swept the dust off, and now I'm going to make the same 3 cuts with the dust collector running. Okay, and this is what we've got with the dust collector on. There is a slight amount of dust here, a few particles, but check it out back here, nothing. Very little dust left on the table. I'd say probably 90% of the dust is going up the dust chute. So I'd call that a win. I don't think any dust collection is ever going to catch every little speck of sawdust, but this thing is doing a really good job. Get a lot of vacuum from the 4-inch hose. Alright, I think that's it. Thanks for watching.